November 24th, 1971, Thanksgiving Eve. Portland International Airport was a sea of trench coats and holiday travelers. Among them was a man who looked like he belonged in a mid-level corporate office. He was mid-40s, dark suit, white shirt, black tie. He carried a briefcase and a quiet confidence. He walked up to the Northwest Orient Airlines counter, paid $20 in cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle, and signed the name Dan Cooper. Flight 305 was a routine 30-minute hop, but as the Boeing 727 leveled off at 10,000 feet, Cooper ordered a bourbon and soda. Then he leaned toward a flight attendant named Florence Schaffner and handed her a note. She slipped it into her pocket, thinking it was just another businessman's phone number. Cooper leaned closer. "Miss," he whispered, his voice calm, almost polite. "You'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Inside the briefcase, she saw a tangle of red cylinders and wires. The demand was stark: $200,000 in a knapsack, 4 parachutes, and a refueling truck standing by in Seattle. The routine hop had just become the most audacious heist in aviation history. For 2 hours, Flight 305 circled Seattle in a holding pattern while the FBI scrambled to gather the cash and the chutes. On board, Cooper was the picture of composure. He wore dark sunglasses, he paid for his drinks, he even offered to buy the crew meals. The plane landed at SeaTac Airport at 5:45 p.m. In exchange for the money and the parachutes, Cooper allowed all 36 passengers to walk off the plane. They had no idea they had been part of a hijacking until they hit the tarmac. Now it was just Cooper, the cockpit crew, and a flight attendant. Cooper gave his next set of instructions: fly toward Mexico City. But there were conditions. He wanted the wing flaps at 15 degrees. He wanted the landing gear down. And most importantly, he wanted the cabin unpressurized and the aft air stair, the door at the very back of the plane, left open. The pilots argued it was dangerous. Cooper didn't care. At 7:40 p.m., the 727 roared back into a sky thick with freezing rain and low clouds. 2 F-106 fighter jets trailed behind, but in the soup of the storm, they couldn't see a thing. Somewhere over the rugged wilderness of southwestern Washington, near the Columbia River, a light flashed in the cockpit. The crew felt a sudden change in air pressure. The aft stairs had been lowered. Imagine it, a man in a business suit strapped to a parachute he's never tested, clutching 21 pounds of cash, standing on a staircase vibrating in the 200-mile-per-hour wind. Below him is nothing but a black abyss of pine trees and freezing rain. He didn't hesitate. Dan Cooper stepped into the dark. When the plane finally landed in Reno, Nevada, the stairs were still down, flapping in the wind. The cabin was empty. Dan Cooper had vanished into the night, leaving behind nothing but his black tie and 8 cigarette butts. The FBI launched Norjack, one of the most exhaustive manhunts in American history. They scoured the treacherous slopes of the Cascades. They interviewed thousands. They tracked the serial numbers of every single $20 bill. The name D.B. Cooper was actually a media mistake. A reporter misheard the name Dan Cooper, but the legend stuck. The suspects poured in. There was Richard McCoy, a veteran who pulled a similar hijacking months later. There was Sheridan Peterson, a skilled skydiver with a mysterious past. But every lead hit a brick wall. No body was found, no parachute silk was snagged in the trees. The $200,000 seemed to have evaporated into the Washington mist. For 9 years the trail was cold. Then, in 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram was digging in the sand at a place called Tina Bar on the banks of the Columbia River. He unearthed 3 bundles of rotting cash, $5,800 in total. The rubber bands were still intact. The serial numbers matched the Cooper ransom. This discovery didn't solve the mystery, it ignited 1,000 new questions. If Cooper died in the jump, why was the money found miles away from his projected landing zone? If he survived, why would he bury a fraction of the loot and leave it to rot? Geologists analyzed the sand, biologists studied the diatoms on the bills. Some said the money washed down the river years later. Others argued it was buried there shortly after the jump. The river gave up a fragment of the truth, but it kept the rest for itself. In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI officially suspended the active investigation. They had run out of clues. Today, Dan Cooper, if he's even alive, would be in his late 90s. He has become a folk hero, a phantom of the jet age. Was he a brilliant insider who knew the 727's unique design allowed for a rear exit jump? Or was he a desperate man who died within seconds of hitting the freezing air? The beauty of the Cooper mystery isn't in the crime, it's in the void he left behind. In an age of total surveillance and digital footprints, Dan Cooper remains the one man who walked through a door at 10,000 feet and simply ceased to exist. Whether he is bones in the forest or a quiet old man living in a seaside town, his story remains the ultimate American riddle. A man, a plan, a jump into the storm. And the wind over the Columbia is the only thing that knows the answer.